Our next presenter is Ari Raptis. He is the CEO of Talaria Transportation. So when you're operating in a cash-driven business, there are many things that have to go from point A to point B securely. And for that, we are very thankful for having Ari to speak with us today on his company's services, how he's growing his company amid all of this business disruption. And he's going to share with us industry best practices and what new companies and existing companies can do to securely transport product as well as cash to the bank, as we just heard, the traditional bank that does not get shut down, which is great. So thank you, Ari, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. So question that we always start with is, how did you get into the cannabis industry and when?
So Talaria started about 3 years ago, and it was in the hopes of starting a business as a young entrepreneur. With that, you can see my screen. I will jump into a presentation. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much.
Awesome. So Talaria started in 2017 in the hopes of getting into the cannabis industry, where the cannabis was slowly coming from the West Coast to the East Coast, and it entered my home state of Pennsylvania. Understanding the laws and understanding the bylaws of the cannabis industry, I said, hey, there's an opportunity to jump into the transport side. With that, we dove in head first as a distributor. And with that, what that means is that we move product for the cultivators to the dispensaries in a secure fashion. All our employees are all retired state police. And it's been a whirlwind since we started about 3 years ago. We have 4 areas of secure transport. Product, as I just mentioned, where we move product from the cultivator to the dispensaries. With that, and using our same workforce, the retired state police, we got into the cash and transit business. And as you heard on the last interview, that it is a major supply chain issue of the amount of cash that comes into the industry. And with that, companies utilize our service to find banking partners and for us to move their cash to their financial institutions. We actually are an approved courier for the Federal Reserve, so we actually contract directly with the financial institutions to deposit directly for them. Another service line that we are as well is we have ATMs and a cash processor. So you go into a dispensary and you need to pull out money, you can utilize our service lines for that. And then lab testing as well, where our employers are all certified lab samplers, where they actually pick samples at the cultivator and deliver it to the lab. So between these 4 service lines, we hit every single touch point along the supply chain, from cultivator to the lab testing, from the financial institution, even to the dispensaries. Why would a company use a secure transport? Mainly because of the type of drivers that we have and the type of service level that we have. All our vehicles are all GPS tracked and live video monitored. So we have a control center that tracks our 35 vehicles across our 16 states and produces a live footage. Current states that we operate in is New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, Washington, D.C., Virginia. We are entering into the Missouri market, and then Utah as well. With that, happy to take any questions.
Wow, Ari, that was like a really fast presentation. It's always wonderful when somebody really kind of like has it together. So let me think. So how much, I mean, with your business that's increased and expanded into these different areas as well, how much has your security operation grown?
So we started in Pennsylvania, and now we're in 16 states. We've grown from one employee to about 130 now. We've grown from transporting possibly $50,000 to $100,000 a week in cannabis dispensaries to on a weekly basis moving about 25 to $30 million worth of cannabis, and that's product in the truck that goes to the dispensary. And then on that same aspect, the cash dispensary side has grown significantly, especially during COVID, where every cannabis company dispensary has seen an uptick, where we actually process the cash for the dispensaries, where we were processing when we first started $1 million a week. Now we're pushing about $40 million a week in through our channels to the financial institutions.
Thank you. So how has this past year and all this craziness affected the growth of your industry and your business in particular?
Well, with that, especially the cannabis industry, we've all seen a huge uptick. And my analogy is that the horse just started running and it kept on running, and we're all just holding on for a ride now. And it's been a crazy uptick the past year. We've grown about 300% every quarter, starting from last year once the pandemic happened. So seeing and being fortunate to be successful during such a crazy time is very fortunate.
Thank you. And how did deeming this an essential business, an essential during all of the pandemic affect your business in particular and the cannabis industry?
You know, we were very fortunate to be an essential worker during the pandemic. One of the toughest problems was, especially in the beginning, um, finding PPE equipment. And finding PPE equipment, especially in the beginning, to protect our workforce, was probably the biggest struggle. And it was super important for us to find PPE equipment, and mainly because we're the wheels of the supply chain industry. If we stop for a week, that means that $40 million in cash wasn't going into the banking system to pay vendors and pay employees. And then, respectfully, on the flip side, the product not getting on the shelves, and that took a big hold on us, where we invested pretty heavy in the beginning in the PPE equipment and made sure our team was protected and safe.
And I'm going to ask another question. I see Charles over here as well, because I'm sure Charles has some great questions for you. I would like to know what sets your company apart from everyone else in the secure cash and product transportation industry?
Amazing question, and thanks for asking that. One main aspect is that we're probably one of the largest companies that have the number of service touch points, from product transportation to cash transportation and additional service lines as an ATM. We're also coming out with a home delivery arm, where we actually can deliver directly to the consumer in applicable states. But we are one of the largest national couriers in the country, operating in 16 different markets. And one big aspect of that is that our multi-state operators and some of the largest names in the industry utilize our services across multiple states. And multi-state operators love the simplicity and this standardizing the same solution across different markets, where every single market is different. And we provide that simplicity and standardization between different markets for our multi-state operators.
Thank you. Charles, I'm certain you have some questions. Please take it away, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Ari, good to see you again twice in a week.
I'm a very lucky
one
guy.
question that I wanted One question that I wanted to ask you when I interviewed you earlier this week was you talked about how either all or most of your employees are ex-law enforcement. Have you had any that you talked to that have issues with the product?
You know, no, but mainly because it is passing that federal legalization, and it's the stigma that we're trying to change. And we're very fortunate enough to have the retired state police officers to the point where they add context and background. Where our first road show, when I was first starting the company about 3 years ago, we stopped at each cultivator in the state of Pennsylvania to show them what we can do our business. And I had a former chief of police on my team at that time, and we're taking tours of these grow houses. And my retired officer turned to me after seeing a football stadium size greenhouse, and turns to me and says, "Ari, I've only seen this in basements, in bad areas. I've never seen, and I would never have thought to see cannabis to this magnitude." But it really hit home for him when we did our first delivery together. And we were delivering product to a medical dispensary in Pennsylvania. And we walked through the waiting room to check in, and we saw sick patients waiting for the medicine. And it hit home for them where they saw the good that we were doing, the good that how it would help. And as a human person, as in our human nature, we want to do good. And I think that really hit home. And thank you for that question, Charles.
Absolutely. And then another question I wanted to go into was, what's the future for your company? You've been very innovative, and I know you're planning on going into other states. Are there, without giving away trade secrets, are there other products that you want to look into offering?
Yeah, thank you, Charles. So our goal on the product side of the business is to become a distributor, where we're going to be warehousing the product and then distributing in bulk. And that's something that we're actually launching in Missouri next month. And then replicating that across each state, and having that same distributor model from Missouri to Pennsylvania to New Jersey to contract with our multi-state operators to have that one proven solution across different markets. And then secondly, we actually developed a software that I mentioned earlier, a home delivery software, where we can then complete our supply chain and deliver directly to the consumer. So where we deliver it from where they grow it out of the ground to that end consumer, using a service like Talaria, you can have that full service spectrum.
Absolutely, love it. And then one more question. This is the greedy investor in me. How have you funded your business to get it to the size that it is, and will you be looking for new investors in the future?
Thank you, Charles. So I started the company with $5,000 and bootstrapped it ever since. Reinvested every dollar we made back into the company, and we're still growing. At one point, probably in the next year, when we launch our distributor model across different markets, we'll be bringing on investors. So I'll definitely let you know once we do.
Well, please do, and I love hearing these bootstrapping stories. My first company was a check verification guarantee company. Like you, I started it with very little money and really never got a bank line of credits. And that's certainly the way to do it if you can do it. Ari, good to see you again this week. And Jessica, I'll give it back to you.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much, Ari. We appreciate everything that you are presenting here and the information. We're going to be wrapping up here in just a few minutes as well. And I know you mentioned about your distributor model. Do you have anything new and exciting that you'd like to give our audience a little inside sneak info about?
Well, we're launching our distributor model in Missouri, which is a month away, and as I mentioned before, that home delivery arm, we created a sister company to Talaria, and it's called Go, and it is a direct-to-consumer business where product will be online, and we'll be able to deliver it in a secure fashion with our retired state police.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And I'd like to have you present the opportunity and let our audience know just how they can reach you, please.
Yeah, the best way to reach me is contact@talaria.com. We answer emails right away. So any quick questions or any points of concern, we're happy to be here and help.
Thank you so much. Last but not least, what are your final parting thoughts and messages to our audience listening around the world? Not just America. I mean, we're global, so.
We're global. Well, finding a reliable, secure transport company is imperative. Doing your proper due diligence prior with references from other companies is key. So we truly respect the industry and understand the severity that product and cash need to move in a secure fashion and in a timely order. And we're happy to do so.
And I know I said I was going to, kind of move on, but I actually have a few more questions for you, if you don't mind.
I would love it.
Great, because we just have a few more minutes left, and so I'm going to take advantage of it.
Please do.
So when you have people looking for secure transportation, do you have any questions that you recommend they should ask? Anything in particular, or a list of questions? And then not just the questions, what answers should they be seeking as well?
Well, number one is insurance, making sure that anyone that you contract with has the proper insurance. For workman's compensation, because you are, as a cultivator dispensary, you are liable at any third-party transport that you bring in to move your product. And then workforce. One core reason why we choose and go into the retired state police workforce and have them as team members is that they lived a life of regiment and honor for 25, 30 years while they were on the force. And for you to trust someone to be able to move your product in the proper way, you want to make sure that they're representing your company in the right facet too. So we like to say that we put our good foot forward and have excellent team members. And that's personally how we were able to grow so fast and so quick by having the team members that we do.
Excellent. And I have a question from the audience, and they'd like to know, is Talaria pursuing electric vehicle tax credits that may be made available by the current administration?
News to me. We definitely would be interested in any advantages that we could take, mainly because of the lack of COVID relief that we've gotten in the beginning of the pandemic. But thank you for that question.
Okay. Oh, and here's another one for you. Are you by chance hiring?
Always hiring. We can't hire fast enough.
Please tell us more about that.
Yeah, so we're hired internally. We're hiring for our admin team now. We're bringing on sales agents to help push our information into multiple states. And then on a larger scope, a controller, where we just brought on a new business development executive. So we're hiring. So best way to apply is contact@talaria.com.
And please spell Talaria for the audience.
TALARIA.com.
Thank you. I
Thank you,
really
Jessica.
appreciate it. This has been one of those areas. I encountered a secure transportation company years and years ago, and they were just starting out, especially when secure transportation was a new word in the industry. So it's very, very fascinating how this has grown into its own microcosm within the greater macrocosm of cannabis.
Oh, you're exactly right. And one example I'd like to give about Talaria is that we're the gears that keep the cannabis industry moving. Whether it's moving the cash to the bank, putting the product on the shelves, providing the ATMs or the cashless ATMs, the lab testing. We have multiple gears that all need to sync up at the right time to make sure that each state's business is successful.
Excellent. Wonderful. And then I know that you are based here in the US. However, do you consult globally, international, since we do have an international audience?
Yeah, we haven't jumped or
Oh,
tipped our toe across the pond yet, but something that we're definitely interested in the next couple of years is to do more international transport and more bulk shipping as that permits.
So, I mean, even though you're talking about shipping, would you also be willing to do consulting for companies out across the waters in the globally for since you have taken this industry and really expanded it and turned it into a whole exciting new market?
Yeah, we're very happy to consult, and we actually have done that in the past, and we offered consulting services. Mainly from our retired state police, actually showing how to properly transport product in cash and using our softwares. We've also licensed out our software that we've built for other companies to actually excel in.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, Ari, I really appreciate the time that you have taken with us today. It has been a pleasure speaking with you about everything. Again, this is one of those microcosms within the bigger picture of cannabis. However, it is an essential key component within the industry. And as you've mentioned, you're expanding into these various areas as well. And so it kind of has turned into an even larger opportunity as well. Thank you again.
Thank you, Jessica.
Please say your contact information, and we'll be moving on to our next presenter.
Well, thank you for having me. You can definitely reach me at contact@talaria.com, TALARIA.